Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Apostle Obsonate playthrough as Ike Upscribe. I'm System Chalk, and I don't know, I've been really looking forward to recording these lately, so thank you for making this such a pleasure to do. We've come out of the Mansus through the way to the Stag Door. Now, I'm going to need to make sure that my dream slot is available in 200 seconds to be able to deal with the Forlorn Blood. Other than that, I don't really have any immediate needs for dream. I do need to be a little cautious though, because if I generate fascination, I'm going to be running into some problems there. And I don't actually have any immediate solutions in terms of how I'm really going to get rid of it, so I'll sort of mind my manners a little bit. The study verb's kind of chugging along at its additional secret histories, but we did just get a big stack of books, so I'm probably going to want to turn my attention to that for the next little while. So let's jump back through the Stag Door. I'm not quite ready to do anything mean, although I suppose now would be the time for me to start doing some nastier business, because I've got a big stack of notoriety that I need to get rid of, and we're almost certainly not going to have it all done in time for me to get back to the board seat on Glover and Glover, so we'll figure it out. In my dreams, I know the path to the Stag Door through the maze of the bounds. Gearby will let me pass, but the path is always a puzzle. I will need reason. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Now, you may wonder why, if I'm, so one of the problems here is that the Painted River is the most useful to me. It potentially gives me higher level secret histories, as well as potentially gives me some erudition lesson learned, which I'll be able to put into my my study of the secret histories. But again, it doesn't hurt also to have certain types of influence. You can summon things with it. If I had some winter influence, I would potentially be able to subvert that into something else, or just potentially just use it to turn it into dread. So there's definitely some things that I can still get inside of this area, but I am also going to be working on moving higher. But we have finally gotten our first unresolved ambiguity. I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one that we know. In the Mansus, the hours strive one against another. As the struggles are resolved, they iron out the impossible, exalt the possible, tie the fraying braids of what has been into one golden ribbon of the future. Everything is resolved, history becomes the past. There are, however, exceptions, and this will start taking us to locations in the Rending Mountains. Now, of course, if you see how all of the lore works as it starts closing the ring, you can see that there are two levels of history that we will still need to deal with. In fact, I suppose we can move our rituals down accordingly, although it's probably going to make things a little difficult to manage once we once we start exploring these, but that's a tomorrow me problem. The question then becomes, do I want to try and do more studying? I would be able to get at least one more secret histories done. Well, potentially, because the erudition is getting close to expiring. Do I want to try and upgrade another secret histories, or do I want to get to work translating and reading the books that we recovered from the Kuznetsov endowment? I think I'm going to say the Forbidden Epic is too much of a risk to try on its own. Forgotten Chronicles also require intuition and knowledge, so this means that the obvious step for us is to start reading these books. The reason being, this erudition is going to expire in a little over a minute. It will take me a minute to get the glimmering, and so everything sort of needs to fall into place. I believe the warm-up for doing this study would actually take longer than this erudition is going to last. Now, I could combine it into a lesson learned to make it last longer, but, I simply have other ways of getting lore right now, and I should be following those first. So if we take a look, one of the ones that's a little bit more useful for me is Knock, just because it lets me summon things, and it's the one that I actually have sort of the lowest, I have the lowest level lore for. So actually this turned out rather well in terms of, just in terms of the overall priority. Usually the covers of the books will give you some indications in terms of their content. The Silver Book. The Manual of the Order Limea, a order of quasi-immortals who maintained a secret enclave at the source of the river Limea, the Roman province of Hispania, and I can never pronounce this correctly, I believe it's Gallicia. Thank you, by the way. There was a comment the other day on my my German pronunciation. It made me feel a little bit better, although now that I've been told how to pronounce certain words, it's going to be all the more embarrassing that I do it wrong, but I'm sure you're all used to that by now. Lock the study door, the work begins. So I think what I'm going to do here is just embrace my notorious reputation for the next little while, and we're going to do some experiments in terms of what our cultists can get up to, and then we're also going to we're also just going to try and you know, basically do the sorts of things that we've been suppressing because I'm worried about the notoriety. Okay, so the expedition continues. Now we're ready to see what's going on. A reminder: this is the Cave of Candles. So we need to go past the high passes first. Bleak and gray-green slopes lift the eye to distant snow-edged, eye-straining peaks. It'll be a devil of a job to find anything here. Forge will sustain us, winter will shield us. So again, we're doing very well with Forge. We've got 2 Callagines to bring with us. We also have the younger sister. The mother of ants was born among serpents. She has so very many younger sisters. It can be defeated in battle, or it will respond to the mother's power. Now, we have actually answered this puzzle before, but it is kind of interesting to see what the mother's power is. I think this might have been, way back when, one of the first times that I sort of solved something in Cultist Simulator, and I got it because I sort of understood some of the connections. So there are references to serpents very often in one of the principles, and then sort of when I tested, I put someone, you know, in, and it seemed to have the response that I wanted. So again, a bit of a trip down memory lane, but relevant. In any case, we're going to leave this be until we're ready to face the serpent. Standards of daylight society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I've supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. Now, had we not been sort of caught with Violet, this would be the point where I go to the board seat on Glover and Glover. It might be a risk, but in the end, I'm sort of, I feel like I'm able to, it feels like one that would have been worth it, especially given sort of the situation with the funds. I know if I go to my board seat now, the notoriety is going to get picked up, and there's nothing I can really do about that. So I'll just head back to the work site again. There's always the chance that I can get injured. Backbreaking work for meager pay. Is this the best that I can do? Again, because I'm not worrying about making it to work on time anymore, now I'm going to be freed up to do the sorts of things that you know, that I normally would have wanted to do had I not been so obsessed with my reputation. Although again, I'll maybe leave the mystique generating ones for a little bit later. Our forge skills represent plenty of expertise. We'll almost certainly make it through. Optimism is the spice which saves. So let's just send Leo back in. In fact, if we do a good job cleaning up the notoriety, maybe I will change my position on the board seat. Back to the Ascent of Knives. A bitter atmosphere. Winter passes the clothes, passes the skin, nestles in the veins. A 10th order influence. I visited the Ascent of Knives last night, that harshest of roads through the house. It has been sacred to the Menascate and the sun in rags since the intercalate, but when the true sun was divided. When I woke, my room was freezing. The chill of it had cracked the window glass. So this will be useful to me. It is going to take a while, and I do need to keep my eye on my blood, but this will potentially generate the dread, which will allow me to get rid of this fascination. Of course, I also want to use the Delightful Blood, which will generate fascination. So again, these things tend to... It's never easy, but I feel like we should be able to thread the needle and make this all work. I'm already getting my health back, so let's go back through the stag door. Come on. I've prepared the text for study. A manual of the Order Limea, the Order of Quasi-Immortals who maintained a secret enclave at the source of the river Limea in the Roman province of Hispania Gallicaea. This manual was compiled by one Burzgash, who explains that he came to join the Ordo from the city of Messenger Eagles after he abandoned the service of the Ivory Dove. Members of the Ordo took an oath, the silver chain that forbade men to lie with women or women with men, for what may come is not always the crime of the sky, yet that is a furious danger. It was apparently permissible for men to lie with men and women with women. In fact, Burzgash suggests that should be encouraged to distract from other temptations. Frostguard and Shivering, we made it through the mountains. So this is where I'm going to start putting more followers in, because we need to confront the serpent, and we have gotten past the threat. It's also worth remembering, if I feel that I'm getting in a danger zone as far as funds are concerned, we've got a nice little stockpile here to earn from, but I'm not quite ready to move out of working at G&G. I'm injured. I'll hobble painfully home with my wretched pay. All right, so we generated a bunch of vitality. We're okay. And more sickness and Season of Suspicion. So we'll see whether or not the notoriety gets picked up in time. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. Neville leads the... I guess it's not the Vanguard, because the Callaghan already came in, but... Neville will introduce himself to the Serpent. The standards of Daylight Society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. A Subtle Rupture would be nice if I planned on summoning something, but I don't really see much of a use for it right now, so we're going to go back to the Ascent of Knives. And the Furious Air. Anger is implicit in every shape. Of the place my dreams took me last night, this has been written. The ascent is glass, the walls are knives, each step is blood. I did not climb far, the pain was too great. When I woke, that pain remained with me, a pain I could employ to occult purposes if I hurry. Now, we will not hurry. We will instead heal. And hopefully I don't get injured again, because this will generate a nice convenient little vitality right around the time that my sickness is coming up, but we'll see. Excuse me. The manual prescribes potential countermeasures to protect those who might be tempted to go against the oath: masks, disfigurement, severe poetic disciplines. Those who do break it are to be punished with death, although there are lesser punishments prescribed for various acts that don't involve actual coitus. An invocation is included, which was used to incorporate these punishments into summoning rites. So here we have the Meniscate invocation. When the moon's face was wounded, these wounds appeared. So we now have level 8. Okay. Let's just keep reading the books. So the Encircling Tantra. The explorer and entrepreneur T. Everett Duplantis once attempted to plunder the temple where this text was held. His fate is recorded in an appendix. There's my Sanskrit. The holy tongue of the subcontinent, the door to 4,000 years of poetry, ceremony, and mystery now opens before you, if you can struggle through the lotus convolutions of its vocabulary. Serpent is long enough to coil around a cottage. Its fangs glisten like ice. Probably it will respect the power we bear. Bring an Enid for reinforcements. The serpent's mouth is large enough to crouch in. Its tongue is the thickness of a man's shoulders, but almost certainly it will respect the power we bear. Optimism is the spice which saves. Alright, so there is the danger of the expedition finishing just in time for the Season of Suspicion, but overall we should be good about where we're at. I do think because of the Season of Suspicion, let's just mind our manners for a little bit, and I think I'm going to send... It's maybe a little early to send Leo on the job, but... Day is done, but so am I. I have earned my pay. So back to the work site. Yeah, and I will send... maybe we'll send Dorothy this time. I just need to figure out exactly what timings I should use. The illness has damaged my health. I'll need to rest before I am fully recovered. So again, another use for the dream slot, and another Season of Suspicion coming up, so I shouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, so I have basically a 10-second, not even a 10-second window, to use the Savorous Blood. So I also want to be a little careful about that. I think it does actually take me a minute to cure the affliction, so... The icy atmosphere is level 6, so we may wind up generating the fascination before I can do something about it. That's a real shame if it turns out that way. But again... Okay, 57 seconds. Yeah, so the Delightful Blood. We'll run this as long as we possibly can. We're going to hang on to the health. We're just going to leave the dream slot clear. It lowers its head. Moisture seeps from its lidless eyes. Is it weeping? Does it remember that what does it remember of its eldest sister, whose power we call upon? So what we're going to do in this case, I think we said we're going to send Dorothy on this one. Oops. So if we're lucky, this will snatch up the suspicion before the detective finds it. I prepared the text for study. The Encircling Tantra speaks of the Serpent Gate, that hungry portal, which sometimes known as the Spider's Door, which is sacred to the Mother of Ants, through which the great hooded princes pass. Treasures lies before us. Okay, so in 30 seconds we're going to generate... no, actually, probably a minute we're going to generate notoriety. So if the hunters found notoriety, they will use it to create or upgrade evidence. If they're meticulous, they'll always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail, but they can occasionally create evidence without notoriety. So we might actually be free from the notoriety we generate. That would be good if that's true. Okay, the old switcheroo's coming up. Alright, well, we knew that was coming. So 21 seconds. Again, we'll leave the delightful blood to the last possible second to avoid the... I meant it when I said last possible second. I think we might still come in under the wire, though. I consume the little vial of blood, lie back, close my eyes. Tomorrow I will be stronger. Yep, 10 seconds. So I needed 4 more than I had. I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they found no new clues. So we will at least be, you know, it's not a complete loss. Like, we're at least going to be knocked down by the one, but it would have been great if we could have had the chilly atmosphere turn into dread before, because that would have completely gotten rid of the paintings whispering, windows winking. I know these things are not true, but how can I be certain? So we got to find another way to get dread. I'm much recovered. More than that, I'm sumptuous. The sclera of my eyes, the veins in my wrists are aswim with gorgeous serums. When the vitulation comes, I will be the centerpiece for our delight to prove their appetite, to enact the grail. Okay, let's start healing. All I need now is time. Wait a minute. Oh, no, the notoriety is coming. The tunnels beneath the cave are smooth with the great serpent's passage and chokingly dark until we come out with our lanterns, but the chamber where it nested is surprisingly bright. Luminescent fungi flood the place with Ersta's moonlight. Perhaps the candles drew it, not repelled it. And the Encircling Tantra. The Tantra includes an invocation, but cautious helpfully that invocation is of insufficient power to reach the Serpent Gate from the Hunter's Gate. A road which has no destination is itself a destination, it adds helpfully. So again, we'll read that again because I think this should be really clear that this is actually a tip. We've already made it, but the Tantra includes an invocation, but cautions helpfully that the invocation is of insufficient power to reach the Serpent Gate from the Hunter's Gate. So it says, this is the lore that you need, but this particular lore is not going to get you where you need to go. A road which has no destination is itself a destination. It adds helpfully. So we got the consent of wounds. And of course, we've already found our way to the Spider's Door, but always nice to know these things. Okay, the intensity of radiance is a worry here. A little cache of treasures culled over the years from the serpent's meals. It has nosed them into a glinting pile. So we've got Enid. Oop. That's not where Enid goes. Oh, right. Okay. My little mistake. All right. Thank you. I guess I had him in the other order. Callaghan's The Sky, the Soul. The Grand Labor of Cal, an ascetic poet writing at the court of the Shadowless Kings. I should probably read these when I actually read the descriptions when I actually read the book. So we've got the account of Kanishk at the Spider's Door and the Iker Vitrius, which... surprisingly, we didn't have before. All right. let's think about what the next steps are. So if I want to preserve my Caligenes, I can keep them around. I do need to find a way of getting rid of my intensity of radiance, probably the study verb. Actually, we'll do that now. So if I have forge, all right. So it looks like all of my illness has been dealt with. So what we're going to do is once we deal with the forge, once we deal with the this is going to be harder than I think. So, depending on... Basically, depending on my my circumstances, I could potentially generate some forge lore going through the stag door, which will help me out in terms of subverting this this influence. It's something of a roll of the dice, though. Maybe the better way for me to deal with the intensity of radiance is just to use it in a ritual. Now, one way or the other, I suppose I need to decide whether or not I want to go on another expedition. I have the money for it, and I think I said I was going to take advantage of the fact that I've got a break from the board. So let's set up for that. We're going to go... Actually, no, in this case, we're already over the 20-minute mark. So we'll actually start the next episode with the plans. That'll give me a little bit more motivation to review the board, because I tend to do that at the start of the week. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hate to be a pest about this, but I have moved it to the end. If you are enjoying the series and you're not yet subscribed, please consider doing so. That definitely helps me out. If you want to be notified when the videos come out, there's a little bell notification. It looks like, at least based on feedback, that YouTube does inform people that my stream archives are coming up. If those are not of interest to you, and I think those are just generally less of an appeal, they'll always be marked with sort of stream at the start. So anything that doesn't have stream at the start is sort of designed for YouTube consumption. But I completely understand if you don't want to do notifications, because the majority of my videos are that. And as always, I will, until further notice, I'll be uploading these things and releasing them at 6 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday and Friday. And finally, if you liked the video, please feel free to leave a like. If you disliked it, I'm not going to be too upset if you leave a dislike. I'll only cry for like half an hour. And of course, if you want to leave a comment, I always read them and I always appreciate them. So thank you for watching. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you all Wednesday.